Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to a video that's very different. This is the first in a series of videos that I want to do around a challenge I'm doing this year. Now I know I am a car channel and many of you will be here for the cars. So if that's you, this might not be your video, in which case it's very cool. Turn off now and I will see you on the next car related video. But if you're interested in a little bit about what motivates me as a person and the type of things that I need in my diary to challenge me and get me out of bed in the morning, then this video is for you. Now, before we get going, just a quick thing. I am going to be documenting this challenge, this series on YouTube, but I'm not going to be doing too many videos on YouTube. This is still a car channel, so don't worry. Most of the stuff I'm going to post around this challenge will actually be on Instagram and Facebook and a little bit of Twitter. So if you're not following me on those platforms, please do, because that's where I'm going to put a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and a lot of the interactivity. So make sure you follow me on those. So what's this all about then? Well, as I said, I am a car channel and the vast bulk of my content is car related, although I did do Cycle Sunday, which gave you a hint of my other passion in life, which is cycling. This series of videos, I wanted to just share my journey over the next 5 months with you. Some of you might be interested and some of you might not care at all, and that's all good, and I totally get that. But I'm really becoming more and more passionate in, we're not getting any older. I turned 50 last year, and for me that was a big milestone, and I want to make sure that I maintain my physical and mental well-being as best as possible. I'm still mentally about 15, but turning 50 was a real thing for me, and I want to make sure that I'm fit and healthy and able to do things. Now, I've always been a fit and active person. I've always enjoyed sport. When I was a kid, I played squash at quite a good level. And then from squash, I went into golf, and I've played rugby and hockey and a few other sports. But my big sporting passion pre-YouTube in the noughties was actually equestrianism. So Tracy and I bought a horse at the beginning of the noughties. We'd not been married very long. And a hobby grew very quickly into an absolute passion. And I ended up competing at eventing. So dressage, show jumping and cross country. And that for me was my life for pretty much 7-8 years. I was riding probably 5 or 6 times a week. Most weekends I was out competing, and I absolutely loved my time doing eventing. It may not be the natural sport you link with me, from cars to going to 1 horsepower and 4-leg drive, but the adrenaline rush was second to none. And for me, it's still one of the most complex and difficult sports I've ever tried to compete in. Unfortunately, in about 2008, the horse that we had sustained a really nasty injury that meant it couldn't jump anymore. And although we convalesced it through that injury so that it could do flat work, my days competing in eventing were over. So in around about 2009, I wanted some new challenge. And I decided, in my ultimate stupidity, to run a marathon. I'd never done any running before. I couldn't run a bath. And I just decided I really wanted to run a marathon. I'd had a mate do it the year before, so I just entered the London Marathon. And I did a 4-month training program and went from not running at all to competing in the London Marathon. And I targeted a sub 4-hour time. I ended up doing 3 hours 57, which I'm still to this day very, very proud of. In fact, my medal is hanging on my office wall just above me. And that for me was a fantastic process of not thinking you can't do something, working really hard and training towards it and then doing it is a sense of achievement that I just cannot describe. Unless you've done it, it's very difficult to describe. The next year, a friend of mine, Darren, who came on the NC 500 tour with me, he'd entered a charity bike ride that was basically replicating the Tour de France route. And we did the last 5 stages of the Tour de France route. And I went out and bought myself a road bike. And that was my first foray into road cycling. And I've been hooked ever since. And we did that, and that was an amazing 5 days of physical pain, but amazing feeling of success when we finished. After that, I did a number of longer rides and challenges. I've cycled up Mont Ventoux 3 times. I've done the Paris-Roubaix Challenge. I've done lots of big sportifs. But in 2012, I turned 40 and decided to challenge myself with something else and combine my love of running and my love of cycling with my not so much love of swimming. And I entered my first triathlon. I entered the London Triathlon. And for me, the process of training for all three of those was very difficult, very challenging, but I had a huge sense of achievement when I finished the London Olympic distance triathlon. Unfortunately, although I was pretty fit at that point, I then kind of tailed off. YouTube comes along and work comes along. I started my own company in 2012, and suddenly physical activity goes to one side and you end up working too much, and very, very quickly you can realize that you're putting on weight and you're getting out of shape, and that is not good. So I ended up going to see a personal trainer, a guy called James Temple, who will be in this series of videos. And he kind of started to work on my fitness, but he has a mantra: you cannot out-train a bad diet. So at that point, I started to realize how important nutrition is when you couple that with physical activity if you want really good physical health. And I did a challenge with James over 3 months where I really focused on my nutrition, really focused on my exercise and strength workouts and so on. And I actually lost over 1.5 stone in 3 months and went from 20% body fat to under 13% body fat. I'll put a picture up above. I was a complete physical transformation, but that taught me a lot. And I thought, great, I've made it. I got my six pack, fantastic. Guess what? Take your foot off the gas and it all comes back on again. And by the beginning of last year, when it was my 50th year, I turned 50 last year, a lot of my weight had come back on. And I think that was coupled as well with doing YouTube. You see yourself on screen, and doing TV's even worse. When I did Vintage Voltage, I could kind of see the weight in my face, and I started to get a bit stressed about the fact that it was, coming back again. I wanted to be fitter. So I decided over the summer to celebrate my 50th birthday year with a big, big challenge. So I entered my first half Ironman. In May of this year, I'm doing Ironman Marbella 70.3. So it's a half Ironman. So in order to help you understand what that is and what training I have ahead of me, let me jump on my trainer, my bike next to me, and I'll tell you more about what a 70.3 Ironman is and just what I've got ahead of myself. Okay, now before we get going, I don't want you to think that you can only get something out of this video series if you're going to do a half Ironman, because that's not the intention at all. For me, it's not about the distance or the difficulty. It's about challenging yourself. It might be couch to 5K, it might be walking around the block, it might be anything you like. A couple of years ago, my big sister said, I could never do any of the challenges that you do. And I said, yeah, you can. And I challenged her that year to run a 10K fun run. And she didn't run at all, and she was very badly unfit, and no way could she run in her head a 10K. By the end of the year, we did the Great South Run, 10 miles. She ran the whole way, absolutely smashed it, changed her whole way of thinking about things. So don't think you have to only watch this if you're going to do a half Ironman. It might be anything that is just a little bit beyond what you think you can do. And then you do that, and then you do something bigger, and you do something bigger, and then ultimately you end up entering a half Ironman. You never know, after this I might do a full Ironman. So what have I got ahead of myself? Well, there's 3 disciplines: swim, bike, run. Distances are swim, 1900 meters or 1.2 miles. Then you jump on your bike, and the bike is 90 kilometers, which is 56 miles. And then you go for a run, and the run is 21.1 kilometers. And the reason it's a weird distance is because it's half marathon, 13.1 miles, all one after another. Now, in order to help me train for this, I want to talk through each of the disciplines, but I'm going to be working with 2 coaches, 2 people. James, I've mentioned already. He's going to be helping me with strength and fitness and nutrition. I see him as a personal trainer every week anyway, and we're just going to adapt the program that we do together to work on leg strength, lots of squats and just general strength. But what I'm not going to do with James is any of the technique. I'm going to do that with a guy called Matt Jolly, who actually was my swim trainer and swim coach when I did the London Triathlon. So Matt is an endurance athlete. He does like 100-mile endurance runs and double marathons and stuff like that. And together with him, I've joined the Chichester Triathlon Club, and I'm working with those guys to help me on my technique. So the first biggest challenge for me is swimming. I'm a pretty good breaststroker, but the problem with that is breaststroke is a leg stroke. And I could easily swim 1900 meters. On holiday in the summer last year, I swam 2 miles breaststroke. But if you do that in a triathlon, you come out of the water, get on your bike, and your legs are shot. And you need your legs for the running and the cycling. So you need to be doing front crawl. And my front crawl is very, very inefficient. So I've already been going to Chichester Triathlon Club. They've got some fantastic swim coaches there, Matt being one of them. And they're working on my swim technique. It is all about technique to make yourself as efficient as possible. I'll put some video over as I'm talking. This video, by the way, was shot probably about 6 weeks ago. And I've got this problem where my right hand is kind of coming across. And that's not very efficient at all. I'm working on that in a big way. But the swimming for me, I need to be able to get through that and do it as efficiently and as quickly as possible. But hopefully the strength part is the bike and the run. Bike next. I'm on my bike now. Anybody who watched Cycle Sunday, you're probably thinking, where's the Bianchi? Well, I will be doing the actual day, the road ride on the Bianchi, but I've got myself a smart trainer and I've connected my old Specialized to my smart trainer. I didn't want to smash up the drivetrain of the Bianchi on the smart trainer. And I'm using Zwift, the online training platform, and so far I've not used a smart trainer before, but it's the ability to put you in a world of pain very quickly is fantastic. So I'm spending a lot of time on the smart trainer, and then as the weather improves, I'll be doing more and more long rides, and I'll be keeping you up to date of what I'm doing there. The big thing for me here, and I've never done it before in cycling, is this measures my power. So at the moment I'm doing 140 watts of power because I'm just mooching along. And I'm starting to learn to ride to power, and I think that will be very important on the day, so that I can push myself to the ultimate without going too far and going into the red and blowing up basically. So for me, the big part in the road cycling part is increasing my power, decreasing my body weight, so I get as much watts per kilo as possible. There's a lot of work to be done on the cycling. And then the last thing is the run. Now, firstly, you need to train your body to run off the bike, so I'm doing that. I'll go on a ride here inside, and then I'll go for a quick run up the road just to get used to that. But the running around here is very hilly. I do a lot of running off-road on trails. I've got some beautiful hills out the back of the house. I go out with the dog. At the moment, sort of minimum I'd go out for is maybe 10 kilometers, 6 miles. And I'll be increasing that length and also trying to increase my pace over the next couple of months. And then you just start to tie them all together. I know individually I could probably do each of the elements now. It's doing them one after another that's going to be super difficult. So that's pretty much it really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video with my two trainers, with James and Matt, so you can see the kind of things that they're doing. Try and give you some basic tips on just general fitness and well-being, and keeping an eye on that if you like. And then we'll go through my journey. Ironman Marbella is at the beginning of May. So Tracy and I will be flying out there and doing that. The course looks beautiful. The swim is in the sea just off of the little port of Portobellonis. The ride looks quite nice. It goes up into the mountains and the countryside around Portobellonis and Marbella. And then the run is along the coast, up and down the top of the beach, which looks beautiful. I'm sure it won't be beautiful by the time I fit it. Well, I'd love to know what you think. I know it's a bit different in terms of a video, but keep an eye on my Instagram, keep an eye on my Facebook and Twitter, keep an eye on my progress. Anyway, I'm going to get my head down and do some more work on this, then I might go out for a run. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. and I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care. Drive safe.